At least 181 K through 12 educators have been charged with prurient assaults related to children in the first half of 2022. 140 of those arrests, or 77%, involved alleged prurient crimes with relation to young children. At least 181 K through 12 educators, including 4 principals, have been arrested on the child prurient related crimes for the children in the United States in the first 6 months of 2022, ranging from prurient photographs of children in compromising postures to prurient forcible assault of a physical nature on the children. An analysis conducted by Fox News looked at local stories week by week featuring arrests of principals, teachers, substitute teachers, and teachers' aides on the prurient children-related crimes in school districts around the country. Arrests that weren't publicized were not counted, meaning the true number may well be higher. Yeah, obviously we can only count that which was reported, and a lot of these things are not going to make the news, unfortunately, let alone be reported to authorities in the first place. So the actual numbers are most certainly higher. The analysis we were able to conduct found that there have been at least 181 arrests between January 1st and June the 30th, which works out to exactly a day, one a day. So that's one a day that we're able to document that made the news. Not necessarily that were reported or not necessarily that occurred, but that made the news. The 101 educators we were able to document include 4 principals, 123 teachers, 12 teachers' aides, and 12 substitute teachers. Here is a picture of 4 principals who were arrested in relation to the prurient children offenses. At least 141 of the arrests, 77%, involved the crimes against students. Men made up the vast majority, 78% of arrests, which means that women were 20% of the arrests. So women teachers and principals were involved 20% of the time in the prurient assault of children, the prurient forced interaction with children, the prurient imagery of children. Some of these allegations are, of course, especially heinous. So there are different degrees of horror show, and some of them are particularly high on the horror show scale. Roger Weaver Freed, 34-year-old former principal at Williamsport High School in Pennsylvania, was charged with prurient contact with a student, corruption of a minor, furnishing adult beverages to the minor, prurient assault, and aggravated indecent assault without consent. Fred is accused of having a years-long prurient relationship with a male student. Shannon Hall, 31-year-old, former teacher at Jamaica Gateway to the Sciences High School in New York, was arrested in June and charged with the forcible physical contact and endangering welfare of a child and aggravated harassment. Hall is accused of grabbing a 14-year-old female by her top sexualized parts inside his classroom and sending texts to a 16-year-old student that he wanted to have prurient times with her and threatening to unalive her if she told anyone. How exciting and disturbing and horrible. Norman Merrill, 45-year-old former teacher at Green Mountain Union High School in Vermont, was arrested late May and charged with production of the prurient child material and possession of the prurient child material. Merrill is accused of secretly video recording his own female students walking past him in school and producing videos showing children in a undressed state. Anise Page Growler, 35-year-old former biology teacher at Making Waves Academy in Richmond, California, was charged with 29 counts of the touching the children. Growler is accused of the prurient assault of seven students from 2021 to 2022 when they were teaching at Making Waves, with allegations including forcible prurient assault involving the rear and sharing graphic photos over the online platforms. Here's a picture of a 35-year-old former biology teacher charged with the 29 counts of the child touching in inappropriate ways stuff. Dottie is accused of repeatedly, pruriently involving himself in a forcible way with a 16-year-old female student and threatening to unalive her. He is scheduled to stand trial in January of 2023. Here's a picture of Dottie, 35-year-old former biology teacher, charged with the forcible, prurient interactions and attempt and all the rest of it. The analysis comes after the Department of Education released a report last month titled Study of State Policing to Prohibit Aiding and Abetting of the Prurient Misconduct Relation to Schools, which analyzed state policies prohibiting passing the trash or allowing suspected abusers to quietly leave their jobs to possibly offend again in a different district. So they were doing the same thing as the Catholic Church, just passing around bad apples to bad apples and allowing them to continue terrorizing. Yeah. A bipartisan provision of the Elementary Second Education Act, which was originally proposed by Republican Senator State Toomey of Pennsylvania, requires all states receiving federal education to enact laws prohibiting the practice of the passing of the trash. The Education Department reports, however, that found laws against the practices varies across the state, and while all states require prospective employers to conduct criminal background checks on educators, and most states, 46, require fingerprinting, only 19 states require employees to request information from an applicant's current and former employer. Only 14 states require employers to check an applicant's eligibility for employment or certification, and 11 require applicants to disclose information regarding investigations or disciplinary actions relating to the prurient abuse. Yeah, that sounds like something we probably want to have more maximalized, yes. Toomey, who pressed the Education Department to release the report, says he's deeply concerned by the findings. While I appreciate the Department of Education has finally fulfilled its obligation to investigate whether states have implemented policies, laws, or regulations to stop the heinous practice of passing the trash, I'm deeply concerned with these findings. Any educator who was engaged in the misconduct with a child should be barred from ever teaching in a classroom again. Yet too many states do not have policies to ensure this is the case. Releasing this report is only the first step. The department must hold states accountable and use tools to enforce the law. When it comes to protecting the children and making sure that we're holding the bad people accountable and preventing them from just going to a different school, yeah. The Department of Education has also released a report on the topic in 2004, which in 2004 at least claimed that 9.6% of students are target of educator prurient misconduct sometime during their school career. So 1 out of 10 with it. So it seems like something we're going to be allowed. So that wraps us up with our article of at least 181 educators have been charged with prurient related offenses in the first half of 2022. This, of course, is not all offenses, not even all reported offenses, only ones we've been documented. And so, yeah, this is the problem. And it's a situation that needs to be addressed. And that brings us to the end discussion of this case. Thank you so much for being part of the Uncivil Law family. If you enjoyed this legal education content, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow. We appreciate your continuing support. Until later, my friends, cheers and goodbye.